out of that hospital, but his little girlfriend did not. She got a staph infection in her lungs, and 6 weeks after that accident, this kind and gentle and lovely young lady passed away. And that was the first funeral of a young person I had ever attended. And some of you here tonight know how significant that is. It's different. There's never a good time to die, but it's pretty hard seeing a young person's life lost. And of course, eventually, we had to move on. Brandon had survivor guilt, but he had something else. Brandon had a disease. He had a self-induced disease in a sense. I didn't know what happened back then. I didn't know what addiction was. I didn't know how addiction worked. But I know that now. This happened 21 years ago, and I've learned so much since that time. And I really thought this young man, he had a lot of willpower, and he always seemed to do the right thing. But when it came to stopping taking these pills, he could not. And I was mystified by that. Why didn't he just stop? Just stop. And I didn't understand how it worked. Today I know that the chemistry of his brain had changed. He had taken these pills, both opioids and benzos, but primarily apparently opioids. And he had taken them for so long, the chemistry of his brain had changed. And we know now how that works. There's a part of your brain called the nucleus accumbens. And the scientists teach us today that these drugs changed the way the nucleus accumbens works. That's the part of the brain that tells us you've got to drink water, you're thirsty. You've got to eat, you're hungry. It gives you a reward. It's a rather mild reward, but it tells you you need a cheeseburger, you need a drink of water. These drugs hijack that part of the brain, but they don't just hijack it, they hijack it with a vengeance. And they're not just talking to you, telling you you need a drink of water, you need some food. They're telling you you're going to die. That part of the brain is screaming at you, telling you you're going to die if you don't get this drug. And that's how it works. I didn't know that then. Sadly, 3 years after this car accident, Brandon lost his life. And we lost the battle against this addiction. So that's what happened to my son. 21 years is a long time. And I'm a lawyer by day, but some of you here know that the nights are awfully long and lonely when you've lost your son or your daughter or your loved one. And so what I did was begin reading and studying and talking to scientists, and I've been doing that for 21 years. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist. I'm kind of a scientist wannabe, but I've learned a lot. And we ended up making a documentary film. We called it Killing Pain. There's different kinds of pain. This pain about the nucleus accumbens, this pain that it causes someone who is suffering from addiction, that is an unbelievable pain. But we made this documentary film. It's free, you can watch it. It's episodic. It's got, I believe, 7 episodes. But if you get a chance, look at it, killingpain.com. Episode 2, some of the finest scientists in the country, some in the state, they explain how this works. And you know, you can't defeat a problem until you know how it works. We have to know how it works. For example, the AIDS virus. In the beginning, if you remember, they didn't know how AIDS was transmitted. They didn't know how it worked. They figured that out eventually, and millions of lives have been saved. We have to do the same thing with addiction. We have to understand how it works. It's hard to live without hope, but we have many reasons to have hope. There are many miraculous medications that work. There's treatment that works. The problem is we don't have enough of it. You know, we don't have enough of it. Now, I grew up during the Vietnam War. Some of you here tonight might remember what brought that war to an end. I watched every night on a black and white TV with my parents. The body count for Vietnam changed our whole country. That's what ended that war. Americans made up their mind. We can't live with this body count. Well, you want to know what the body count for the whole Vietnam War was? I looked it up. That war lasted approximately 20 years. 58,000 American soldiers died in that war. One is too many. 58,000. Our country decided that was an enormous number. But in 2021, we had 106,000 overdose deaths. That's 1 year. In 2022, it went up to 109. We don't have the data for 2023.